Welcome to the Coach to Coach, I don't know whether it's Coach to Coach program, briefing, whatever you want to call it. 2017, the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activity Association Board and the Oklahoma Coaches Association Board agreed in principle to a program called Coach the Coach, which would be an opportunity at the coaching clinic to talk about some things that weren't sport specific, that were initially designed for young coaches and for those folks that were going to mentor young coaches. And so we have gone all over the board in the last 6 years, talking about different things and having different aspects of a coach's life. Today, Rickey Brady, former Putnam City West alumni, University of Oklahoma alumni, and an NFL alumni. I will let him expand on that. We don't have time for me to tell you all the teams he played for in the NFL, so that would take the rest of the day. But Rickey brings a perspective about coaching that is a little different and unique, and I think it's something that certainly all coaches, young and old, could benefit from. As you know, the hook to attend this session is that you get a free playoff pass to whomever you want to give that to. Those vouchers or cards to fill out I have over here, and as soon as Rickey finishes up, we'll hand those out. You can fill those out today and bring them right back to us, or you can take them and send them to our office in the next week or so, and we'll get that pass headed your direction. But at the current time, Rickey serves as the director of a nonprofit called Speak Life, which is a ministry in the Edmond area that works in and out of the Edmond schools and surrounding schools to tie in the importance of culture to sports and youth activities. But today, he's here to speak on behalf of the Coach to Coach group. It's my pleasure and honor always to introduce my friend Rickey Brady.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you. And I know nobody's here for the voucher. Everybody here just came to hear me, correct? Yes? Okay, great. Hey, I love talking to coaches. It's kind of relaxing for me to come in here and you'll see from my slides, I'm not necessarily prepared to give this just fantastic speech, but I'm here to just share some information, some knowledge, and some personal experiences, tell a couple of stories about some friends of mine that have helped me to see and understand where coaching played a crucial and significant role in my life, and then also in some areas where I didn't understand the 5 types of coaches and how I chose to react in situations instead of respond to those situations. So one of the reasons that Coach Whaley didn't tell you about all the teams that I played for in the NFL is because there were too many of them, and there were too many of them because I quit 3 times. I remember having breakfast with Mark Clayton. He was going to do a mentor mission thing that we do with Speak Life with me at Kids Across America. And I just was sharing a little bit of my story, which I'll share with you guys. And I told him that, this program here came because I quit the NFL 3 times, and it's called the MAPS program. And he said, whoa, 3 times? Like, how'd you do that, bro? 3 times. And that took another 30 minutes. It's a short story I want to share with you. It helped me lead here to this quote. This is one of the quotes that I'm also the president of the NFL Alumni Oklahoma chapter. So there's a lot of washed up former athletes like myself that have a whole bunch of football knowledge that's not doing anything with it. But what we do is we love kids and we love coaches, and we show up and we help teach leadership, and we teach culture and how to build culture and how to maintain that culture. What we do is we coach coaches because we know that we all need a coach. I have my own coach. I have an executive coach that I meet with, and it's extremely important. One of the quotes that we use is, winning cultures are created by beliefs and validated by daily behaviors. And so if you want to go to the next slide, I'm not sure, my slides are off. One of the reasons we do that is because you guys that coach, whatever sport it is, it doesn't even matter, of course. We have quite a bit of experience in football and in basketball. I actually played basketball for Coach Tubbs my freshman year at Oklahoma, and I'm a Speak Life coach for one of the basketball teams in Edmond, and so we do leadership teams. But we talk about the best getting better, and the way that you do that is you have to validate the behaviors of your players and your coaches. You have to have guidelines, and you have to have people that are showing up and that are pouring into you, so you can then pour out into the players. And Coach Gendy was, oh, there you are, Kel. We were just talking about the fact that when football season specifically hits, right? All of a sudden, all the culture and everything that we've done in the off season, everything we've done in the weight room, everything we've done out there on the field and building up, and we have all these sayings, and we get shirts made that say, team over me, and all this stuff is great. But if you don't have somebody there helping keep that going when your wide nine is just running past the left tackle and sacking the quarterback every play, you've got things that you're coaching these kids in their sport that you're doing that you are just off and running, and it's season, right? I think if you look now on some of the NFL programs, some of these college programs, they're starting to hire people that come in that are coaching culture, that are coaching character, and that are investing in the kids, but they're also investing into the coaches, and they're there. That's how the best get better. And so if you want to go to the next slide, I believe the greatest resource on the planet is kids. And if we're not invested in those kids, then we're not making progress. This is a camp that we do. We actually, I just checked before I walked in here. This is a camp that we're doing at Putnam City North. We're doing it for 3rd through 6th graders. We'll have, I thought I had a slide up there who will be there. Jimmy Wilkerson will be there. Billy Badgman will be there. Todd Franz. We got guys that have played in the league that show up. They have plenty of football knowledge for these 3rd through 6th graders, but what we do is we teach them the MAPS program, the message out of MAPS, which I'm going to go over, and we call it the Domination 316 program. And so I love being the director of this camp. I checked right before I walked in, we have like 125, I think, registered so far, and we'll probably get 50 more registered in the next 2 days. And I'll just tell you, Thursday and Friday at these camps, with all those little boys out there, all those little knuckleheads running around, me and the guys running the camp, we have more fun than all those kids combined. And all we do is we use the football to get them there. We use that platform. But we do is we teach them leadership, we teach them culture, we talk to them about dominating in 3 areas: effort, attitude, and sportsmanship. And they get awards for effort, attitude, and sportsmanship. They don't get awards for being the fastest or making the best catch or winning the fast football games that we play. We have a ton of fun, but they walk out and they know and they understand quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. And they know and they understand that, and they can go apply it, and the coaches can learn from the kids is what I'm finding out. We've been doing this for, I think, 7 years now. So that's our camp. This is a picture from our camp. Oh yeah, that's it. There's, Billy gets to get up there and share with them about his Super Bowl ring, right? And so if you're a 3rd or 4th grader, or if you're an old guy like me, I love hearing the story every year. And he tells how they won that ring with the Ravens. And it's great to see these little kids know and understand it wasn't because of all this talent. It was because of the culture and the commitment that was built within that program and how that kind of developed. He shares some really good stories. And then I'll point out over here in the middle picture, you see the guy that's at camp with his shirt off in the middle, and it looks like a really, really big 4th grader. That is a kid that plays, he'll end up playing college football. He's offensive lineman. He is on one of the leadership teams that we do, and he is an exceptional leader. Actually, this particular team has 3 or 4 guys in this group that are off the charts exceptional. He showed up with a bunch of other guys from his team just to invest in these little kids. And they did that because they learned and understand and went through the MAPS program that I'm going to share with you. So one of the cool things is one of his buddies who was a defensive lineman at the end of camp had his phone, and he was over on one knee and he was taking a selfie like this, and he had all these sweaty boys just around him smiling so big. And what was cool about that picture is all those boys look at him, as he's going to play small college football somewhere, I forgot, look at him as a hero. But what was really cool about that picture is I know what that picture represents. That picture was for him, the investment that he made and that he was able to give back to those kids. And so I guarantee you he still has that picture on his phone. That was like 3 years ago. Next slide. We can go through these pretty quick. Yeah, these are questions that we ask. These are questions that we answer. Okay? The way you answer these questions is that you show up. And so myself, and we have a couple other guys that we assign specifically to schools and teams. We show up and we kind of recognize and understand, and we lead through answering these questions. There's a lot of times that you guys, that all y'all know that you have athletes that show up that are having a rough day, that don't practice well, they're not dominating with their effort, their attitude, and their sportsmanship. And the answer to some of these questions have nothing to do with you or the program or the sport, but has everything to do with being something at home, another relationship, something that they're going through. I absolutely, and this happens with the coaches too, I absolutely love diving deeper into those situations and helping. When you talk about executive coaching, it's not providing solutions. You know, I get this in my own life. It's allowing to pull and to remove things so they can see what's already in them, so they can answer their own questions. And when they do that, it's so rewarding. I'm also an ordained minister, and in seminary, and so that's what I do in my spare time. So a lot of this trickles over into that. I love the extra investment. I love the coaches that are catching me on Friday night at midnight out in the parking lot that have something that they need to talk through, and I love the fact that they know that that's a safe place to go and that it stays there. And so that's a big piece of what I do, if not the biggest. So these are some questions we answer. You can go to the next one. I think there's another thing that pops up here. So our challenge is to invest significance over success in spite of today's culture. See if there's one more. How do you do this? So go to the next slide. I think, wrong slide. So we talk about significance over success. One of the biggest things that that I have learned, and you'll see as we go through the maps here, is that we strive to be successful. Every team that I help, I'm like, let's show up and let's win 100-0. Okay, you get a scholarship. Okay, go to the biggest, best school you can. Be the first pick in the draft. Get paid billions of dollars, and you buy the biggest house on the planet. I'm all about success. You go do it. I'm on your side. However, we need to have significance over that success, and that's why we show up. The significance and the difference is success is what I go and I can get, which is okay. Significance is understanding, what do I have to give? What do I bring to the team? What do I have to give? And that goes not only from your superstar All-Americans, right, to the guy on the team that's never going to play, to your head coach that is putting in more hours than he's getting paid for, to the guy that is on your staff that's still the rookie struggling and trying to figure it out. Okay, everybody has something to give, and so it's recognizing and understanding what that is and being intentional with it. So here's something that I have recently learned. Okay, so ships don't sink because of the water, right? Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. Go to the next slide. This right here is actually, it's got the date on there. It was just July 11th. This is a quote to me, okay? A good coach. Over here, a good coach can change the game, but it takes a great coach to impact lives. My executive coach sent me this quote from Kevin Hall, which I looked that up. He's got a book that I'm going to have to buy, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. But my coach sent this to me at 6:44 in the morning because he knows what I do from 6 to 7 in the morning. So he sent this, and he said, your gifts are not about you. Leadership is not about you. Your purpose is not about you. A life of significance is about serving those who need your gifts, your leadership, and your purpose. That's what it's about. And so I need somebody that's continually pouring into me so I have something that I know and I understand. Now I can go and I can pour out into others. We all need a combination of these 5 coaches. So I'm writing a book on the 5 types of coaches that should, depending on how my fall goes, should hopefully be published at the end of this fall football season. And so, next slide. And my coach is all 5 of those to me, by the way. I'm going to get into what those look like. I was a very high maintenance athlete when it came to the types of coaches and what they could get out of me. And it caught up to me in the NFL. That's the reason for quitting 3 times. So here's, when we coach coaches, how do you do that? Here's one of the things that my coach allowed me to learn even just recently, but I'm applying. If you look at this, that's a really bad drawing. And he asked me, he said, Rickey, what do you see here? Well, I mean, I see a square and I see a triangle. But I'm pretty smart, so I'm like, well, and then I see it divided, and then I see it, and I gave him all these answers. And he said, what would you say if I told you it's just one thing? And I'm like, Ross, it's not one thing. I said, let me tell you and explain it to you. And I went on to talk to him in my coaching session and break it down exactly what I see there and what it is. And he said, you're wrong. It's one thing. It's a pyramid. It's a pyramid. It has a foundation. It has a side. You can look at the side from an angle, and then you look down on top of it. It's a pyramid. Leaders almost exclusively depend on their own strength and experience to make decisions. What he's trying to help me is to know and understand the coaches that I work with and the players and the leaders, right? And building cultures. A lot of times the coaches look at that. They're going to define that for you and know it's a square, it's a triangle, it's 2 triangles, and it's 4 triangles. And that's it. It's not. It's not. The great coaches know and understand if they change their perspective. There's a quote that if you change your perspective, it increases your IQ by 80% at times, which my wife thinks I need to do that on a daily basis. So that right there helped me to understand some of the times when I go in and deal with some of the types of coaches that I have defined and that I have coached, right? And that we're working through some of that. It helped me to understand sometimes perspective means everything, right? Perspective means everything. Go to the next slide here. So yeah, often we become the expert in the areas that we fail. So I quit the NFL 3 times, the MAPS program, and the 5 types of coaches. Go to the next one. So, okay, Kel, you recognize that guy? So that's me, my rookie year. I played for the Rams, I played for the Jets, and I played for the Chiefs. That camp that I told you about, we have enough kids. We have 6 teams. This year we might have twice that, but we'll see. There's always these 3 teams there, right? So you get these 3rd, 4th, 5th. They're always there. There's always a Rams team, which we let Chris Chamberlain go with those guys. Jimmy will get to go with the Chiefs team, and that'll be his team. He was drafted by the Chiefs. Ronald Moore, who was with the Jets when I was with there and was a good running back, he'll have the Jets team, and we'll have 4 or 5 other teams. The thing is, when we get to the end of camp, and I get to share and talk to the kids about my story, I explain to them why we always have those 3 teams at camp. Because everything that we do at camp, that's culture, and that I have downloaded on my coaching staff, if you will, and these kids come from what I learned in quitting those 3 teams. I quit every one of them. Every one of them. And I had so many reasons, right? I was correct, but I learned I wasn't accurate. I was correct because of coaching. I was correct because of so many things. I had so many reasons, right? So many reasons. And I had a desire to be successful and make a lot of money, and I missed out on a whole lot of money. Next slide. You recognize that stadium? Okay. I put that stadium there. This is strainer number 1 of the MAPS program. MAPS, we have a message, we have an action, we have a promise, and a skill. There's 3 strainers here that I've learned. We're going to dominate with effort, okay? The action is we're going to elevate the environment, okay? And the promise I've learned is you let your actions be louder than your mouth, okay? Skill is results, not reasons. Results, not reasons. Now, the reason of this picture is to remind me and tell you of a story. I played a game there one night, and I actually scored 3 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. It was football-wise, it was a good, successful night. We lost. We lost. You know what I remember about that game? And what I've learned? You dominate with your effort. You elevate the environment. You let your actions be louder than your mouth. And it's results, not reasons. Usually when I came out on the field, and I remember this, coming and breaking the huddle. This particular team, we ran the ball a lot, and I was a slower blocking tight end at this point. I remember this big old defensive end. And I remember because not a lot of times they were taller than me, but this guy, I'm 6'5", he was every bit of 6'7". And we probably weighed the same, but I don't think if we'd have taken our shirt off, we would have looked the same. I mean, this guy was just massive, and he was ripped, and he was strong. I played against these guys lots, right? First play, I'm going to come off, I'm going to show him who's boss. Usually what happens is when you do that and you play against somebody good, usually the second or third play, they're talking, right? And they're chirping. And I'm like, I got them. It's just a normal football game. You know, it may take a quarter or two, but he's going to learn who he's playing against. You know what I remember about the game, and you want to remember about this stadium, is that I hit this guy the first two plays, and he didn't say nothing. And it wasn't that good of a block. He might have thrown me down one time. It's third down, and I remember coming off and blocking him. Great technique, staying low, hitting him, standing him up, and at best, it was a stalemate, at best. When I look at that stadium, I don't know the guy's name. You know, I could probably figure it out now. I probably should for the story, but I don't know his name. But you know what he did the whole night? The whole night. He let his actions be louder than his mouth. I was playing well in the passing game, but we couldn't run the ball. He elevated his whole entire defense. I learned from him through this game, right? He elevated that environment, and they beat us. They beat us actually pretty easy. He was all about results. He was all about results. And when I think of this stadium, it takes me back to Maps 1. He dominated that night with the effort, without question. He elevated the environment. He actually let his actions be louder than his mouth, which was very uncommon. And he produced results, not reasons. Next slide. So here's a buddy of mine I played with in Philadelphia. This picture to me is so significant. It's a funny, quick, really sidetrack, funny story. I was in Indianapolis. My daughter plays on one of those volleyball teams, those traveling teams. I call them professional teams because it seems like they never play like locally, and it costs $1 million to play every year. But if you're a volleyball dad, that really, really resonated with you. So we were in Indianapolis at her volleyball tournament. We walked in, and I saw Randall's shirt in this, actually it's a baseball shop, but it was Brett Favre, Randall, Tom Brady, you know, all some of the top guys. And I took a picture of it and texted him and said, apparently they're out of Rickey Brady shirts, you know. He's like, yeah, I think they are at most places. Randall knows how to characterize culture. He taught me that. He still does it today. He's a pastor in Vegas, and he dominates with a great attitude. He always has, from day one, you know. I lockered right next to him. He made sure to scoop me up and take me to the chapel services and make sure I'm showing up on time and making it to the game, and he gave me rides from the hotel. But what I realized, he's characterizing the culture. When all this happened, they had actually benched him that year in Philadelphia. And Rodney Pete, which is a good guy, became the starter. But the way that Randall handled that on a daily basis, others will be changed by your example, not your opinion. I had opinions. I'm telling you, a lot of people in Philadelphia had opinions, and around the league, others will be changed by your example, not your opinions. There's a lot of things that transpired through the course of that season where I got to see firsthand how Randall Cunningham chose to respond instead of react. And I learned that from him, from being present and to watching, and for him to being so consistent with dominating with his attitude, characterizing the culture, knowing and showing me that others will be changed by your example. And because of that, I learned the skill how to respond instead of react, because like I told you, when I quit 3 times, it was because I was an expert at reacting, okay? I was an expert on just seeing and striving for success, and I was definitely an expert in coming up with reasons instead of results. Now, the third one here is the most important. A lot of you don't know who this guy is, and you should. There's a website right there. Put it on your phone, look it up, follow him. He is one of my best friends from playing. We were off-season together, Strainer number 3 here, you go through the MAPS program. This is a self-awareness strainer, I forgot to say that, but you go through here. Message, you dominate with sportsmanship. There is a whole lot to unpack there. I would need another 2 hours to explain what that means and how we've come to define it. Action, you intentionally influence. You do it intentionally. And here's the promise. What we're becoming is far more significant than what we get. And here's the skill, and I briefly touched on this. Significance over success. O.J. Brigance, he is the king at MAPS number 3. There is no question. Now, a little bit of backstory with my friend O.J. here. O.J. works for the Baltimore Ravens in the front office. And if you Google him, O.J.'s had ALS now for over a decade. He definitely knows and understands how to intentionally influence others. He played at Rice, which basically just means he's a whole lot smarter than I am. But when he got finished playing at Rice, nobody in the NFL wanted him. But he had a dream and a passion to play, in the NFL. And so he knew in order to do that, he's going to have to do something on his own. He sent letters out, he made calls, and he reached out to every single team. One team gave him a shot, one team, and he made the most of it. He made the most of it, and he ended up becoming a Super Bowl champion and one of the most sought-after special teams players in the league. He was a really good football player, but when it comes to sportsmanship, one of the key things we talk about is being a great teammate. O.J. Brigance, you could not spend more than 5 minutes in the locker room without watching him and realize what kind of teammate he was to everybody. And he's still doing it. He can't talk. He talks through a computer, right? He can't move anything, and he's still changing the world every day. And so OJ's definitely taught me what significance is over success. And I'll just give you a little extra here. Sometimes I'll send OJ an email, and I'll send it how much I appreciate him and love him and how much he's taught me and stuff. And I'll hit send on that. And I'll just be honest with you, I feel pretty good about sending it to OJ and hope that lifts him up and blesses him today. And I feel pretty good about myself when I do that. Every single time I do that, you know what happens? It comes back to me 100-fold, if not 1,000-fold. It's just who he is. He's all about significance over success. He has so much to give that he understands and recognizes it. He continually gives it away. The next slide. That's just about our logo. It's a brand that marks every participant to influence others so they shine like a diamond. We partner NFL alumni and Speak Life, kind of partner together and doing the same thing. Speak Life is a lot of the programs that we have written, and we come in with high school culture and kind of try to understand what the head coach needs for his blueprint of leadership and take those programs and plug them in. That's what we do. Empower coaches, equip players, influence communities. The next one. This is a couple of slides here about coaches. So there's 5 types of coaches. I think I have 2 slides on here. This is the in-front coach. Self-confident. Most of you guys know Coach Johnson there. So genuine reputation of past achievement, self-confident. The negative piece is sometimes has trouble relating or connecting to players, right? Sometimes this guy has the trouble, not necessarily this guy, Coach Johnson, but the in-front coach, which in my book you'll see is labeled the general. It's great to have a general, right? Somebody that we know and that we can get out there. Kale's in here, I'll tell you. As a player, we have these 2. Kale was a general, right? He was somebody that was out in front that we knew. He was confident, okay? Coaches that are confident and out in front, we want to follow them. Sometimes they may or not rub us the right way because they're so confident, but yet we're going to follow them because they are leaders, okay? Because they are leaders. There's also negative things that coaches need to know and understand. If they get this, if players know and understand, and I didn't know this when I was playing, if we know and understand that charismatic leader, then we can know how do we connect with them? How do we connect with that particular coach? Or how do we not receive some of the things that they want to give us because they're not going to land right? A lot of those things didn't land right on me because of me, not because of the coach. So it's important for the players to know that as well. These guys are typically very self-confident. That is so very little of what written about the general. So, and it's still labeled in front coach. So that's the general. Next one, next one. Oh, yeah. The besides coach, okay? The advocate, okay? I love this coach because I had a few of these coaches through my career, and when I look back, these are the guys that cared about Rickey, right? Not what Rickey could do on the field or on the court, but Rickey, what was going on in Rickey's life, that knew off the field stuff. They called me into their office, okay, and talked to me about certain things, right? And I can go through, and I can go to high school, I can go to college, and I can go to the pros, and I can pick out that coach. And I can give you story after story after story after story. Coach Denji is one of them. He's an advocate. He encouraged more than criticized. He was definitely quick to listen and slow to speak. He definitely cared about each and every player in that locker room. One of my favorite Tony Denji stories is it was off season, and we had lots of players there. Lorenzo Neal and I think we actually shared a locker. It was at Tampa Bay, and it was an old facility. I think it was either so close or we shared a locker. I can't remember, but I'm sitting there, and in the corner of the locker room. And Coach Dungy comes running by. It's off season. He's like, "Hey, Rickey, how's it going?" And I remember it was April. I was like, "Hey, Coach." I said, "You go to church this weekend?" "Oh, my goodness. We had a great Easter service." And now he was striding. He was on his way to go somewhere quick. I mean, he's the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? I'm just trying to get to the golf course. He stops. And he basically comes over and sits down next to me in my locker. I'm one of the low guys on the totem pole, by the way. And just argues with me for about 15, 20 minutes on who had the better Easter service and why. That's an advocate, right? Fast forward 2 years later, at the end of my career, I'm wrapping up playing in the XFL, which was a blast, by the way. It's coming back. It was a blast. And I ran into Coach Dungy, who was out there some kind of coaching convention or something. And he comes right up to me, just walking through one of the hotels. "Rickey, how's it going? Hey, saw you playing the other night." Like he knew more about the game and what I did than I did, you know? He sat there and visited me for 10 or 15 minutes. It's an advocate, okay? What you think you know about Tony Dungy when you see him on TV and stuff, what you think in your mind, it's true. He is that guy. He's an advocate. Next one. Okay, yeah, so I jumped to the 5 types of coaches. I played for all 5 of these guys. This is me, okay, positive versus negative. So if you look at these different types of coaches, and I'm not diving into all of them too much, but if you look at this, the beside coach, the advocate, right, Coach Dungy up there, I'm 80%. I need 80% of that guy. It's a pretty high maintenance athlete, right? You better be an All-American to get that. 15%, I do need somebody that's done it before and that's out there, right? Because I want to follow that guy. And the behind the coach, barely 5%, okay? Don't be kicking me in the shins, right? Don't be kicking me in the rear. Don't be challenging me. Very, very high maintenance athlete, yes. Very high maintenance. The flip side, when you say the negative, when I get a behind coach that's 80% kicking me in the rear, and I get the above coach that thinks he knows everything, and you're only giving me 5% in the other areas, I'm probably not going to produce for you as an athlete, right? So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so from that standpoint, let me wrap up the 5 types of coaches, what I mean by that. What I have learned when I look back on my career and where the MAPS program came from and how I put that together is because I was such a high maintenance athlete that I didn't know it and understand it. I was blessed enough to just kind of show up and to be able to contribute, and that caught up to me in the NFL. Not only did it catch up to me because I didn't know and understand coaching, but then when I started to look in my life and stuff, it started to catch up in life too. And so then I didn't have those life skills where I knew how to respond to this adversity instead of react to this, right? And I started to produce reasons in these areas of my life instead of going after and obtaining some results, right? And then like OJ has taught me and has continued to remind me, there's areas in our life where we strive so far and get so focused on being successful that we forget how significant we are. We forget to slow down and to call that kid that's not going to probably be a very good athlete into our office and to shut the door and have those conversations, right? The most significant piece for me is to be able to look back and reflect on those conversations that I had. These are some of the programs that we do for cultures. MAP, Speak Live, 5 types of coaches. We do a Devo, before school on Friday mornings a lot of times. You go to the next one. These are some pictures from some of the stuff we do. Over here is Kids Across America. Go to the next one. I wanted to finish with one last story. These are how we impact culture. Yeah, you'll have to go through these. I think they pop up individually. So we have a side of programs, which is leadership and culture. You can just go all the way to the next slide if it lets you. And then the mentorship and faith piece that we come in and do. So those are a lot of the programs. I won't tell you the story that goes with this on the MAPS program about belonging and validating by behavior, but go to the next one. This one right here. I'm going to finish with this. I'm going to finish with this story. This is one of the best pictures to me in all of football. Okay? This is a kid that was on one of my leadership teams, kind of barely got in there, right? This is also a kid that I put a lot of time in. Okay? There's a lot of conversation. I show up at games not to coach football, to do everything but football, which a lot of times there's a whole lot going on. And so I had a lot of conversations in between quarters, during the games, at halftime, after the game, with this guy right here, not about football, okay? Not sure exactly where, who he lived with. I think maybe it was with his brother. I picked him up a few different times to make sure that he got to practice on time, not early. And me and him developed a relationship. That picture is significant because that picture right there comes from a story that Billy Badgeman shared with him about winning Super Bowl and some of the best players on the team picking up Gatorades after practice, cups, and putting them in the trash. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that you saw that trash down there. So here's a story, last story about this guy, and I'm going to do it really fast. Football game. He snaps. So much so, he takes his helmet off. He's on the sidelines. He's hitting it. It breaks, okay? You can imagine what that looks like. The stands up there. You can feel the parents. Oh, man, that's why we don't have no discipline. You can just feel it, right? You guys, as coaches, all been there, know and understand. There's a quiet, just silence over the field. I mean, he lost it. He's got his buddies that are trying to help him. He's got the coaches that are over there taking off their headset and then getting back to the game. I mean, he got thrown out of the game. So I'm down here. I'm like, this is a great opportunity for a Speak Live coach. Go Speak Live, right? I don't know what to do. So I just wait. And I'm thinking about my history with this guy and the conversations, and I know how much he loves and cares about his coaches that he just embarrassed. So I go down there and I basically tell him, and I'll fast forward through some of the details of the story, that I tell him, I say, you see that guy right there? I let him tell the story why he got mad. He needed to get it out. It's irrelevant. I said, that guy right there, at some point, you need to look him in the eye and apologize for your behavior. You're man enough to know and understand that. I know, I will. Okay. That was a Friday night. Monday, I come back. He barely catch the end of practice. He's out there throwing the ball with a buddy. I go up to him and said, how'd it go? How'd practice go? Oh, we got better today, coach. We got better. Awesome. Did you have a chance to talk to your coach? Yeah, I did. How'd that go? And he stopped. He said, Coach, it went good. And he stepped towards me and he said, I got to work on me. And I told him, I said, hey, buddy, let me tell you something. We were on that football field. I said, the way you acted right over there on Friday night, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done it. I said, in this arena, on this field, in a stadium like this, with a scoreboard there, I played this game for 25 years, buddy. I wouldn't have reacted that way. I'm extremely confident in between these lines and the adversity that comes. I handle it with a high level of emotional intelligence. That's where I stand today, bud. But let me tell you something. Sometimes at my own house, I have to walk up my own stairs, down the hall, to the bedroom of my boys and apologize to them the way I reacted downstairs to their mom with my mouth. I said, you and I need each other. You and I are going to continue to respond and react in areas. Some areas we're going to be good. I'm good here. Some areas we're not going to be so good, and we need each other. We need accountability. We need coaches that are always coaching us and somebody that is always pouring into us, because if we're not getting poured into, we don't have much to pour out. It's not about winning, even though I'm all about winning every game 100-0, trust me. It's about significance. It's about significance over success. You can leave it there and I'll be done. So that's my information. Some of the stuff that we do, we do it in a way that is a blueprint for the culture that you're trying to build for your program. We come in with our stories, with our expertise, and we just are a level of accountability that pours into coaches, that pours into students, and tries to help build a culture of significance. So when the game's over, like those 3 slides that I showed you, and that my buddies had taught me, they take those life skills with them. They need to know how to respond to adversity, and they go for producing results instead of just coming up for reasons. And then maybe, just maybe, your guys won't quit a professional sports team 3 times, right? So I appreciate you listening. I know you're not here to get your voucher, but if you want your voucher, you can probably come find Coach Whaley. That's my information. If you want more information, you can email me. Feel free to reach out to me. So thanks for having me.